faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon Howse.
All right, welcome. Glad you're with us on this May 22nd, 2025. What a horrific news cycle. Most of us woke up to the news today. 2 Israeli embassy workers working at the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., were murdered last night going to an event, a Jewish event, that was about raising funds for humanitarian relief. Now, my editor Jill alerted me that my friend Misha Getz, many of you will recognize her name, Misha Getz, now Hoyt. Her father is Marty Getz, my dear Jewish Messianic friend, Marty Getz. And I am going to have Misha on with me tonight on Brannon Howse Live because Misha wrote this. Almost 1 year ago exactly, I spent an evening with Sarah. Sarah was one of the 2 murdered. Sarah Milgram from the Israeli embassy in D.C. I was attending an Independence Day event with my husband, and she was our host for the night. She was a few years younger than I, and we talked about her family, her politics, and her love for Israel. She was a beautiful Jewish American girl who moved from the Midwest to work for Israel. In the wake of October 7th, she lost many friends because her politics and beliefs had shifted from the far left closer toward the center. We talked about my Messianic background that night, and I remember her being intrigued with it because, if I remember correctly, one of her parents was born Catholic. I'm devastated to hear of the loss of her young life. She left her mark on me after only an evening together, and I can only pray that I left my mark on her as well. I'm now also getting word from my dear friends in Israel that Yoran, her soon-to-be fiance, was part of the Jewish believing community there. It doesn't surprise me to hear that because when I spent time with him that evening, I could sense the Holy Spirit was drawing her to himself. This loss hit so close to home, not only because we live in D.C., but also because we knew Sarah and Josh and worked at the Israeli consulate in LA when we first met. So she knew Sarah from that night, but her husband, Josh, worked at the Israeli consulate in LA when Misha met her husband. We attended events like this all the time when we were married and first dating. The violence is senseless. The pain is deep. May their memories be a blessing, and may these acts of anti-Semitic hatred come to an end. Misha will be my guest tonight. I talked to her on the phone today. She told me how she actually was at an event at the embassy and came out and was being shouted at by some of these people wearing these keffiyehs. She said, now I look back, I realize how easy it would have been for someone just to pull out a gun and shoot me. We warned about this with our national online conference in 2017, Holocaust Horizon, and then we did a full Ozarks Worldview weekend, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday morning, with a big banner behind us, again, Holocaust Horizon. I brought in my Jewish friend, Olivier Melnick. I brought in my Jewish friend, Arnold Frutenbaum. We discussed that this was going to become a big problem here in America and around the world. I've got Alan Dershowitz coming on my show tonight as well. Alan Dershowitz will be with me tonight. Just a few months ago, when Alan was on my broadcast, one of many times now, he always makes himself so readily available to us. He knows I'm a Christian Zionist, and he thanked me, and he has thanked me on the air, and he's thanked you. He specifically has thanked this viewing audience, Christians, for standing up for the Jews. But in that interview a few months ago, and I was interviewing him about this book right here, War Against the Jews, How to End Hamas Barbarism. In that interview, he said, I believe many of these campus students will be brainwashed, propagandized, encouraged, and filled with hatred to the point they become terrorists themselves. That's what he said. I'll play that clip tonight on Brandon House Live. He said, these college students will become terrorists themselves. That appears to have now happened with this young man out of Chicago, who reportedly is the one that murdered Sarah and Yaron while shouting, Free Palestine. On the video where he's being arrested and saying this, somebody in the background says, Hamdallah. That's an Arabic phrase. It's a sad day, and all I can do is pray for the family of Sarah, the family of Yaron. And I guess ask this audience to pray for their families and to pray that what was meant for evil can somehow now be used for some purpose. Isn't that what Joseph said? What was meant for evil, God meant for good? I hope it also encourages this audience to stop, if you are, self-censoring. Don't hesitate. I don't care if it's one of your family members, your neighbor. I don't care who it is. If someone speaks something you know to not be true about the Jewish state, the Jewish people, I'm not talking about defending the Israeli government. They can defend themselves. I'm talking about defending the Jewish people. And that's what my wife said to me today more than once. As she listened to Misha and I talking, as she listened to the details, she says to me twice, at least, murdered because they're Jewish? Murdered simply because they're Jewish. We cannot self-censor anymore. We can't. If any of you are, stop it. Get books like this by Alan Dershowitz. Learn the truth about Hamas. Learn the truth about Muslim Brotherhood. Learn the truth about CARE. They're all the same group. They're all piled in together. Muslim Brotherhood, 1928, founded in Egypt by Al-Banna. 1987, Hamas is started by Muslim Brotherhood, and then CARE in 1994. I'm telling you right now, I talked to Trevor Loudon this morning as well, because this guy belonged to some kind of socialist Marxist organization. And I'm going to have Trevor Loudon on my broadcast tonight as well. And I talked to Trevor, and Trevor and I reiterated exactly what we said in that conference in 2017 and in that conference in 2018, Holocaust Horizon. Logan, I don't know if we have the graphic. If you have the graphic from that night that was on the big banner, Holocaust Horizon, it should be readily available. It's the American flag and the Jewish Israeli flag together burning. And the subtitle of Holocaust Horizon was specifically about the Christians and the Jews that were going to come under attack by the red-green axis. That's in the subtitle of that documentary or that conference, those two conferences, one held in 2017 online, one held in person before our audience at the Ozarks Worldview Weekend in 2018. And here we are, the red-green axis. This guy is a proud socialist / Marxist, this group, Marxist. Trevor Loudon is going to detail that history to us tonight. But that's what this is. And so if any of you think that Christians can somehow stand by and not be extremely vocal, particularly when you hear someone lying about the history of the Jews, the history of Israel. If you do that, you're doing it to your own peril. I talked to Alan Dershowitz today. I said, Mr. Dershowitz, I hope you're increasing your own personal security when you speak. I told him how we had to spend over $3,000 to bring in 2 former Special Forces guys as security to our event at the Waukesha Expo Center because we felt we owed it to our attendees because of these kind of people that just murdered 2 Jewish young people. That's all it takes. That's all it takes is one person. I said we had to spend over $3,000 because we weren't looking to bring in guys, and I'm not trying to besmirch police officers, but they're not trained for this. I'm sorry, they're just not. The Special Forces guys are specifically trained for executive protection and specifically trained for how to identify, how to watch, who to look for. They know how to profile. And I said, we spent over $3,000 bringing those guys in, flying them in, putting up a hotel, paying them, and sending them back home. Because I'm not going to have my viewing audience, listening audience, put at risk without me at least doing something to try to prevent it. And I said, I hope you up your security. Maybe he'll talk about that tonight on TV. But he needs to, and I think he probably will. But if you think it's open season on the Jews, I'm telling you, it's open season on Christians, and this is going to increase for any of us that are Christians. Because the Islamists have said it. The people of the book. So if you're being silent on days like today about this, you're doing it to your own demise. We'll be right back. We're not changing courses. Now, we are who we are. We're committed to the truth that we are committed to. Worldview Tube is a broadcast network that I started in 2006, but it's based on my 35 years as an author and speaker and commentator. Worldview Tube is here to defend the truth of a Christian worldview. And we believe we can apply it to all areas of life, like law, science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, major issues.
At worldviewtube.com, we provide news from around the globe that isn't typically covered by mainstream media. Visit worldviewtube.com to watch our experts and analysts discuss all your favorite topics on our 24/7 live stream. Explore our extensive collection of unfiltered and uncensored content from 35 years of production. Go to worldviewtube.com today. Also find us on all of these major platforms and download our Worldview Tube mobile app.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. Logan, do we have the video footage of that guy? I want to play it because I think I hear at the end of that video somebody say, Hamdallah. Is Sharam with us? We're supposed to get Sharam too. He hasn't joined? I want to hear that video again because I listened to it like 4 times. I'm pretty sure I heard someone say that. Let's go to, you have it? Play it, please. Here's the audio for radio. Got it?
No. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
All right, so when he says free Palestine, someone is responding back, Hamdallah. 2 or 3 times, you heard that. So free Palestine means murder Jews. Let's just get that clear. When they say free Palestine, they're not talking about the Gaza Strip. You guys realize that, right? I know the idiots in the media don't realize this. When they say free Palestine, what they mean is genocide against Jews. Philistine. That was the Roman emperor that said, we'll call it Philistine, after the Philistines, the enemy of the Jews, and it's become Palestine. Again, the debased, dark-hearted fools in the media, either they don't know this, or they do and they lie and cover it up. Free Palestine means murder Jews, which he just murdered Sarah and Yoran. And then these Islamic pieces of trash, and that's, by the way, what they call us, Christians and Jews. You know that, right? Coffers. The satanic individual, after this man murders 2 people, says at least twice, Hamdallah. Joining me now is, well, someone call somebody, please look it up if you can, or call Usama. Ask him what Hamdallah means. I think I know what it means, but I want to be accurate. Joining me now is Olivier Melnick, as well as our reporter in Israel. All praise due to Allah. Yep, that's what I thought it meant. All praise to Satan, because that's who Allah is, Satan. That would get me arrested in the UK. Somebody shouts 2 or 3 times back to his free Palestine, all praise to Allah, after he murders Aaron and Sarah. But do you think the media is going to report that to you tonight? We will be one of the few, even so-called conservative networks, to report that to you tonight. Do you think the media is going to tell you, oh, by the way, this guy is a Marxist? He runs around with a Marxist organization, which I'm sure they're distancing themselves from him today. But I'm sorry, guys, we will not let you do that. We are, even as we speak, digging into you, and we are about to expose you. You can't distance yourself from this. I'm sorry. But do you think even the conservative media tonight will tell you that this guy was a Marxist and he's getting praise from somebody saying Hamdallah, which is the red-green axis? The average person in the conservative media has no idea what the red-green axis even is. And the average person in America, you are following people on Twitter that are only interested in clickbait. They're not bright people. Shall we remind you of the people that came out of the White House waving their Epstein binders? There was nothing in those binders worth anything. But they were clueless. Either they were very clueless, very lacking in discernment, or they didn't care because they're only interested in clickbait, waving binders that mean nothing. And yet those were some of the biggest influencers on Twitter. And I follow some of their feeds. And I'm not sure a lot of those people even know what the red-green axis is. So they're going to have a hard time explaining to you this guy has got a Marxist background, running around with a Marxist organization, killing Jews. This is the red-green axis. Joining me now is Olivier Melnick and our reporter from Israel, Aaron Levarco, both Messianic Jews. Guys, welcome. I'm sorry you're joining us on this day.
Thank you, Brennan.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Go first, Olivier.
Yeah.
Well, I woke up to this morning, and my first reaction was, we've been hearing on campuses in the U.S., globalize the Intifada. This is exactly what you get. This was a globalization of the Intifada. You get murder of Jews in Washington, D.C., and it's just one city. It's coming to a town near you. It's not going to stop. It's going to continue. This simply because they were Jewish. And what really, Brandon, what really made a difference, I think, and I hope that our Jewish community gets it, because they seem to be in somewhat of a denial when it comes to the danger that the Jews are facing right now. But what really is different this time is that this couple, they were about to be engaged next week in Jerusalem, as we heard. This couple, they were Messianic. They were Messianic believers. They were Jewish believers in Yeshua, in Jesus. And why is this important? It is important because I have been fighting my own people as long as I've been a believer, for 42 years almost. As a Jew, as a son of Holocaust survivors, I've been fighting my own people, telling them that Yeshua, Jesus, is the Messiah, is the only hope, is the only answer, is the only way. And then we are called, we the Jews who believe in Yeshua, we are called all kinds of names, all kind of not so nice names like renegade and traitor and worse names. But here we are, a man who's not a Muslim. Okay, he's not a Muslim. So, radical Islam is what it is. It's bad. But this young man was not a Muslim. He acted, like you said, he was indoctrinated by the woke left, by Marxism. He did what he did, but here is what's important. He killed 2 Jewish believers in Jesus. Why is this important? Because this is a message to my community, my people, the Jews. Please, let's put our theological differences aside. I'm a Jew. You're a Jew. I believe in Jesus. You don't. I don't care. But let's put our differences aside and work together against the evil of anti-Semitism. We are all Jews in the eyes of people like Elias Rodriguez. We are all Jews that need to be killed, believe in Jesus or not. And that's my big takeaway from this event. This is very important. The Jewish community needs to understand that.
100% agree. It's being reported that he was born, Yaron was born in Nuremberg, Germany. Born in Nuremberg, Germany.
Of all places.
I know. Think about that for a minute, right? And he comes to America and is murdered by a Marxist out of Chicago. And by the way, I'm reading articles and I am using the old Control F, typing in Marxist, typing in socialist. These words are not popping up in my Yahoo article I'm reading. Are they not going to tell the American people the red-green axis here, Aaron? Are they not going to tell the American people? By the way, are your people in Israel, are they aware of the red-green axis? Are they aware, or are they just aware of the green?
No, I think they are very much aware. Those that want to be aware, those that want to take an interest, some people, for them, it's not important to them, but there are some people who are very aware, definitely.
When did you find out about this? How and what did you think when you first read it?
Yeah, when I woke up this morning, my first reaction, Brennan, was the location. The embassy. What's wrong with our security? What happened on October the 7th? How can this be? Usually around embassies and
Well, just to be
consulates,
accurate, they were at the Capitol Jewish Museum.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yes, correct. But even at a place like that, a Jewish place, you would think that security would be of the highest. And that was my big shock, that at a Jewish site, these days we're targets everywhere we go, and especially Jewish sites like embassies, like synagogues, like consulates. So that was my first reaction. The other thing was, of course, the not just anti-Semitic, but anti-Zionism. The call for free Palestine, and the socialist group that this guy from Chicago was associated with. And as Olivia said, this is spreading to a global jihad, and just shocking. And something positive that I just read literally 10 minutes ago from the White House, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has revoked thousands of student visas from campuses where these pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas terrorists are.
Good.
And that was one of my other first I'm sorry, I probably froze a little bit.
Yeah, that's
there.
right.
Am I back on there?
You're back on.
Am I back on there, Brennan, now?
Yep.
Yeah. Did you hear that quote from Marco Rubio?
I did. We sure did.
Yeah.
Yep.
For me, that was another really important reaction. What is going to happen? Someone has got to put down a heavy response here. Otherwise, this is quickly going to get out of control. This is quickly going to feed the jihadists, feed the pro-Palestinians. I think this is a brilliant move. I'm so, I don't know the word, proud, impressed by the Secretary of State. I know Donald Trump got on the phone with Bibi, shared his condolences, reaffirmed his support in what we're doing in the Gaza Strip. And this is exactly the reaction. Too long, we in the West and here in Israel, we've been like the man getting sand kicked in his face that just gets bullied. But we've got to rise up. We've got to be strong. Like the Lord said to Joshua, be strong and courageous. We need courage. We mustn't cave into these bullies. I am so impressed with Marco Rubio's response that they are revoking, let me repeat it again, they are revoking thousands, let me repeat it again, they are revoking thousands of visas for students at universities who are involved in pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian rallies. Good for him, and may it continue. The message has got to get out there. There are consequences for this kind of action. Shocking, sad day, and as Olivia said, these are believers. These are Messianic believers. The community here are grieving. They were supposed to come back to Israel where he was going to propose. He had a wedding. He had an engagement ring ready to propose. Instead, they'll be brought back. There'll be funerals. May their names be a memory. May their families be comforted.
Amen. Hold right there, folks. More to come. Don't go away. Hello, I'm Brandon House. Hey, consider going to MyPillow.com right now and get your pet a pet bed, just like my beloved Delta has right here in my office. Not only can you get pet beds, but you can get sheets, towels, blankets, and so much more. Slippers, sandals, robes, beach towels. It just goes on and on. But please go to MyPillow.com and be sure to use the promo code B66. When you do, not only will you receive savings, but a generous percentage of each purchase comes back to continue supporting this 24/7 free broadcast outlet. We need your support. Hey, look, we're entrepreneurs, just like my friend Mike Lindell. We all need your support, and you're getting quality products at the same time. So please go to mypillow.com and use the promo code B66. Mike always has amazing specials going right there at MyPillow. So check out whatever those specials might be today. You never know. Mike's always changing it up and making new offers right there at mypillow.com. But be sure to use the promo code B66. All right, welcome back. Glad you are with us. Worldviewradio.com is our website, worldviewradio.com. Olivier, my question about the media, even conservative media, even some of the people that follow all these people that are just interested, I think, in clickbait. They're about an inch deep and a mile wide, most of them on Twitter. But the conservative MAGA crowd loves them. But again, what I have found is the more shallow you are, the more platitudes you throw out, the more slogans you throw out, the bigger your audience gets. But my guess is that most of these people will not spend as much time on this as we will and are, nor will they explain the red-green axis, and nor they explain that if you don't start speaking up and speaking out against the lies of these anti-Semites, which are in the so-called right or conservative movement, so-called, that not only are you a despicable human being and contributing to a form of Satanism, but you're slitting your own throat, because they are going to not only murder Jews, but they're going to murder the righteous Gentiles and Christian Zionists that stand with them. True or false?
It is true. It is true. You've heard me many times on your show, Brennan, mentioning that we, the Jews, are the canaries in the gold mine of civilization, and we are in the way of the rest of the people. But you know that famous quote by Martin Niemöller, first they came for the socialists,
Yes.
I was not a socialist, and I did not say anything. Then they came for the trade unionists, I was not one, I didn't say anything. Then and on and on and on. And at the end it says, then they came for the Jews, I was not one, I said nothing. Then they came for me, there was no one to speak for me. So yes, it's the direction it's going. What really concerns me is we're getting it from both, from all sides now, not just the left, but also the woke right. You know, all the people that we thought we could trust on the right that are not turning against Israel. Like there was a response today from your favorite person, Brannon, Candace Owen.
What was her response?
Oh my goodness. Let me read it on the screen. She tweeted after the event today in response to somebody who posted something, and I don't know who that person is. His name is Theo. But she said, in response to what happened at the museum, God will have his vengeance on those that defend what is happening in Gaza. So she's basically saying that the killing of those two Jewish young people was part of what God was doing. And I want to make another parallel, Brandon. About a year ago, I was at a prophecy conference. I was speaking there, and this couple came to me and said, I have something I want to get rid of. And they showed it to me. I said, don't give it to me. Don't get rid of it. I'm not collecting those things, but I'm keeping it because it's making a point. This is a brass belt buckle from a Nazi soldier. And it's got the swastika on it, and around it, it says, Gott mit uns, God with us. What these people are saying today, being the left or the right, being Muslims go for Allah, or Candace Owens, who Catholic, who says God is going to, have vengeance on those, they're saying the same thing. We're killing Jews, and we're agreeing with those who kill Jews because it's part of God's plan. No different from the Nazis of the 30s and the 40s.
100%.
No different.
100%. This Capitol Jewish Museum is right by the FBI building. Logan, we went by this building several times in D.C. I think we saw some homeless people on the porch. On the doorstep. I think I remember we went by seeing some homeless people on the step. But we went by this building, 2 weeks ago? That was 2 weeks ago today. Was that on a Tuesday? What is today? Thursday. So it was a little more than 2 weeks ago. We were just a few steps from right there, and we're driving by this place. And to think that it's right, if I got my map right, Logan, it's right by the FBI building. I don't know what's going on in our nation's capital. Aaron's shaking his head. But if I'm willing to spend over $3,000 flying in for that night, and you met those guys, Aaron, I mean, if anyone tried anything, they would have left in a body bag. I promise you, if anyone would have tried anything that was deadly force, they would have left in a body bag that night. These guys were not fooling around. And that's why we hired guys that were special forces trained, former special forces, trained in executive protection and profiling and watching people's body language and movements. And we did that. We did that because we're Christian Zionists, and we had you there as our Jewish reporter, and we have 1,000 people there. What is going on with these people that don't have tighter security? How did that guy get in the building? How did he get in the building? We have got to change our mindset.
Brennan.
The mindset has got to change.
Right. And that's what I was saying before about needing this spirit of courage and strength. And my first reaction was, where was the security? Benjamin Netanyahu has called on all Jewish institutions to tighten their security. But this is the crazy thing. Why do we Jews have to walk around in fear? Why do we have to walk around looking over our shoulders? And I texted you earlier, Brandon, and I said, and I don't like throwing out God's name cheaply, but I just wonder if this is not part of God's call, or at least a door of opportunity if things are getting that bad, if security isn't going to tighten up, if the authorities aren't going to tighten up, which Marco Rubio is, but let's just say things don't change, then maybe this is an invitation for Jewish people and communities to pack their bags and come home. This is what happened in many places, even the war, Ukraine and Russia, many Jewish people in France, in England, in Norway. What's happening in Norway? The radicals are taking over there. Jewish communities are feeling, and like I said, why should we live like this? It's not right, to put it nicely. But if that's the case, if things aren't going to change, then Jewish communities need to make decisions. And maybe, as I keep saying, this could be part of God's plan to bring his people back home.
What do you make of that, Olivier?
I can't really disagree with that. Not that I want to disagree with it, but I'm going back to the story of my family. Like my parents. Losing my grandfather in the Holocaust in Auschwitz, and how the family did not believe that anything bad could happen. And then I've done a lot of reading and teaching and studying on the Holocaust. People ask me, do you think that that the Holocaust was God's way to get the Jews to go back to Israel? 1940, 30s and 40s, and 48. Israel is reborn as a modern nation. I don't think it's black and white. Like it's God. God made the Holocaust happen, because I don't think he did. I think maybe he allowed it to happen. And part of it, is that when the Jewish people are in the diaspora, in a dispersion, in disobedience, they're no longer under God's protection, so to speak. So there is an aspect that I don't disagree with, but I don't think we can go 100%. The Holocaust is the main reason why Israel was reborn as a nation. There's a connection there. Same for today. I think that we're at a place in the history of mankind when you look at the biblical record, you know from the prophets that like for instance in Zechariah chapter 12 that the whole world, all the nations are going to go against Israel. That's Zechariah 12:3, and just a few verses later, Zechariah 12:9, God says He will go after all the nations who go after Israel. So we know there is justice, but in the process of all that, the Jews are finding out that the only place, and this is going to sound crazy, but the only place in the world that is safe for Jews today is a place that is at war on 7 fronts. Mm-hmm. That's Israel. Or 8 fronts if you count the media. But so that's an amazing statement. You think about it, Brandon. And I'd like to hear what Aaron thinks about that. That's the only place, because you live in Israel. I'm in Texas, but I go to Israel regularly, and it's the only place where they actually care about their own people. We are not safe anywhere. I mean, I tell you what, Brandon, I don't go get a gallon of milk without carrying a gun on me. I just don't. I mean, I praise God that I am in America, and there is such a thing as a Second Amendment. I'm probably the only French person who carries a gun every day, but that's another story. So anyway.
This is probably true. Aaron, what do you make of what Olivier is saying?
Well, I think there's a lot of wisdom and balance in what he's saying, for sure. And yeah, it's difficult to sometimes see God's hand. And when we look back at the Holocaust, when we look at what's happening today, but as far as what he's saying about Israel being, relatively the safest place for Jewish people, yeah, it's an irony because we're under siege from 8 different fronts. Mm-hmm. For me, I am seeing, it's almost like when there was a famine in the days of Joseph, and the brothers were forced to come to Joseph. And it almost seems like, again, what happened with the Holocaust, that seemed that it was the only safe place for the Jewish people to come back home. The prophet Ezekiel says, I will bring you up from your graves and I will plant you back in your homeland. It just seems that, I personally wouldn't feel comfortable living in places like France or England or Norway, and sadly, places like this in America. But that's something that the American Jews, including Olivier, have to wrestle with. Are they going to rise up and be strong and courageous and ask for help and get help? And what's the other option?
Yep. And I want to be accurate in our reporting. So I've done a little more research because I want to be accurate. The shooting took place, according to NBC Washington. The shooting took place before 9:10 p.m. local time in the area of 3rd and F Streets in Northwest. An area, listen now, folks, in an area surrounded by law enforcement offices. It's behind the FBI field office and the U.S. Attorney's office. D.C. Police headquarters is just a couple blocks away. Listen now. The couple were leaving an event at the museum when a man who had been seen pacing in front of the museum approached a group of 4 people and opened fire, striking the victims. That's what Metropolitan Police Department Chief Pamela Smith said. First responders found the victims unconscious at the scene. Life-saving efforts failed. The suspect then entered the building and was taken into custody by the staff, by event staff, police said. He told them where he put the gun and implied he was the shooter. Okay, so how did he get in the building? He could have killed several more. He could have killed, and why did the police or security not see a man pacing back and forth in front of the building?
There's a lot. I mean, honestly, I would expect something like this to come out of the previous administration, not this administration.
Dr. Andy Woods is a voice that joins us.
I'm disappointed.
Andy Woods joins us right after this. Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at WVWFoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free.
Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
And while we're on the air, guys, a guy named Christopher James, or James Christopher, I don't know. Maybe I should give his email address. Let's see. Looks like he's got he's such a coward. It looks like he probably put together what is not even his real email address. Here's what he says. Where do you get these kooks? How do you find these nutcases you have on your program? You do know you're a complete moron, don't you? It just shows that even kooks like you have some following and are making money off fools and morons. So that's what we get emailing us today while we're on the air, guys.
Oh,
Christopher James, or James Christopher, whatever it is. It's probably not even his real name.
I get a lot of those on that when I post videos. I just posted a video response on my YouTube channel, Shalom and Messiah, and I get all kinds of comments of people that they're gonna make this man into a hero somehow. They will make him into a hero if it's not already happening.
Christopher James, if you're so tough, why don't you give us your phone number, where you live? I mean, you know where I live. So if you think you're so brave, why don't you give us your phone number and let us know where you live, and let's have a little phone conversation. But we know you're probably a yellow-bellied coward. And we get a lot of these kind of emails, by the way, folks. This is why we had to go and hire security in Milwaukee. I just want to correct the record, just to be clear here, not to defend Candace, but apparently her comments were made before the shooting. Those comments were made before the shooting. And, but I guess she did put out at 9:05 a.m. What is most sickening about them using the tragic murder of 2 Israelis is that further underscores how little they value Palestinian life. Tens of thousands of Palestinian children murdered, and they defend it. Innocent life lost is always morally wrong. More propaganda by Candace Owen. Olivier, you want to respond?
I was saying that it's a little more subtle than the one I got, where she was obviously trying to justify the killing of Jews as a godly, and that God was going to honor that. And I'm glad that you checked the timestamp. I should have done that as well. Okay. But we know she's not a friend of Israel, a friend of the Jews. She's an anti-Semite, and it was just amazing to me that the amount of people from all different angles that are coming against Israel. It's just, but it's
Well, I think she's part of the new. I think she's part of the new right, or should we say the new Reich? I don't know. Okay. Because, but again, it's really interesting because as a black lady, you would think that she would have some sympathy of people who are targeted specifically because of their DNA and history and heritage as a race, as a people. But she seems to be oblivious to this. But this is what, I'm just gonna be bold. There's a lot of people on the right that just make me sick. I mean, and to think that these people, anyone takes them seriously. There is a serious cancer on the MAGA movement, or on the right, or the America First movement, or the conservative movement, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But they need to be called out. They need to be marked for who they are, and they need to be avoided, and they need to collapse. People don't need to support them. They don't need to support their sponsors. The fact that she's able to gain a following in America and make money is very shocking and shows me we got a real problem on the right. There's a new right. But that's what I warned about in my book, The Coming Religious Reich. The Coming Religious Reich. That it would come from the right too.
And the new right is wrong.
Yep. Andy, is Andy Woods with us? Andy, what are your thoughts on what has taken place? I know we've had to preempt our normal conversation today. What is your, because we're off tomorrow, what is your thoughts on what went down this last night?
Well, I mean, I guess if you had told me 20 years ago that this level of Jew hatred would exist, I mean, not just in the world, but in our nation, I mean, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But I hate to bring up Bible prophecy, but this is what God said would happen. It doesn't mean we don't expose the evil. Ephesians tells us that we're to shine light in the midst of darkness, but Zechariah 12:3, Zechariah 14 verse 2 is very clear that the world will turn against Israel. And I constantly think of the mystery of anti-Semitism from Revelation 12, that it's a satanic enterprise is really what it is. And those like Candace Owens that advocate, anything anti-Jewish are, that Satan is basically using her mouth as a pulpit when she does stuff like that. But, it does talk about the satanic ambition to wipe out the Jewish people, because if you can wipe them out, you can destroy the instrument that God has established to bless the world. Every blessing we have, whether it's the Savior, the Scripture, or the coming kingdom, comes to us through the physical descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Satan doesn't like it, and he's got an ambition to eradicate the Jews, so that third blessing, the kingdom, can never come. That's Revelation 12. That's the grid that I use to analyze these things. It's satanic. It's wicked. Satan was a murderer from the beginning. Jesus says in John 8:44. And what we're seeing now in our headlines, this despicable action is just more of the same.
Could
Yeah,
not agree.
go ahead, Aaron.
Oh.
Or Olivia, that was you, Olivia?
No,
Go ahead, Olivia.
I was just going to add something to what Andy just said. He said something that really resonated with me. He said, you would have said that to me 20 years ago, I would have not believed you. I have been saying this for 25 years. I've been writing books and doing conferences and speaking in churches all across America and parts of the world for 25 years. When I started saying it's going to get really bad and describing what we are living through today, people look at me like I was this nutcase from a different planet. And it increasingly got worse and increasingly. And Andy, you and I have known each other for 15 years? And you've seen the progression. Even when you first met me, it was not that bad. And so it's just, I've been seeing this, and I don't believe in modern day prophets, but more like a watchman on the wall. I've been telling people this is coming. This is the promise we get from the Word of God, that the whole world is going to turn against Israel, including people in America. And here we are, Washington, D.C., a few feet away from government buildings. This man walks free around a building, inside a building, kills people. And here we are, and it's not the last one.
Shalom Messiah, ShalomInMessiah.com. Stay tuned for Crosstalk, folks. Thank you.
This has been
And we're back for those on Worldview Tube and on WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida. Oh, here's what the Attorney General had to say about this, guys.
Mayor.
Let me plug in my audio. Hold on. Sorry, my fault. Okay, here we go.
Mayor, thank you. Chief, thank you. Ambassador, our hearts go out to you and your staff. I spoke to the President of the United States multiple times tonight on behalf of the President. His prayers are with all of us, all of the Jewish community, everyone in Washington, D.C., state, local, and federal agencies, and our great U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro, who will be prosecuting this case. We'll be doing everything in our power to keep all citizens safe, especially tonight our Jewish community. Our prayers go out. We have the FBI. All of our federal agencies will work hand in hand with you, Chief, as we have done, and you, Mayor, to do everything we can to keep our citizens safe. We will follow the facts. We will follow the law. And this defendant, if charged, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Okay, and then we need to see the federal death penalty, okay? It is time we carry out the federal death penalty on national TV for all those who want to carry it. We would. The reason we have people getting away with this, guys, is because we're not upholding what is one of the functions of the government. And it's not to hand out welfare payments. It's not all of the entitlement programs and all the funding of National Public Radio and TV and all the other garbage they fund. The purpose of government is security and protection, reward the righteous, punish the wicked, and carry out capital punishment. And they need to be doing this and fast. And they need to televise it so that we can send a message. If you go around killing innocent Americans for whatever reason, we will take your life. And it's not going to be dragged out for years and years. This guy should get his trial, and he should be executed publicly within the next 30 days, in my opinion. You're an attorney. You want to agree with that one or not, Dr. Woods?
No, I completely agree. And, even beyond that, it's what Solomon wrote, in the book of Ecclesiastes, because justice is not, swiftly implemented, evil, prolongs in the hearts of men. Mm-hmm. And if our government doesn't react to this by way of justice very, very swiftly, I can't tell you how fast this is going to get out of hand.
Well, I'm going to tell you now, what will happen is, and you want to agree with me on this or disagree, this will be turned over in the news cycle very fast. Turned over in the news cycle very fast. It will get mixed in with all the other horrific stories going on around the globe. We'll have to try to remind everybody again who we're talking about. This case will go on and on and on. And then when he finally gets into court and finally gets tried, we'll be like, wait a minute. It's that took that long? And then he'll get some kind of sentence, and they probably will not execute him. And and other people will be encouraged to do it, knowing there's not going to be any real serious consequences. Olivier?
Brendan, I agree with you, but what do you expect when even our own Jewish community is in denial about the dangers that they're facing right now?
So how so? Explain how so.
I talked to I mentioned on your show before the network that I've worked on, that I put together for the last 6 years, this underground railroad for Jews to help Jews in time of need in the U.S. and rescue and shelter and help them transit to a safe place. And I was talking to a rabbi at an event recently, a private event at somebody's home, and he was speaking, and I went privately to him. And I said, do you feel that the Jewish community is not safe anymore in America? No matter where we are, we have to look over our shoulders. We don't know what could happen. It's very dangerous. And do you feel like there's going to be a time where Christians are going to have to really step up and say, hey, I'm your friend. I want to help you. I want to rescue. I want to help. I want to shelter. And you looked at me like I was this weirdo, and you said, oh, no. And plus, we can take care of our own, but no, it's not that bad. And this is the response I got from not just this rabbi, but several other Jewish leaders. I don't think, I'm going to say something that's going to sound very drastic here, but I don't think our Jewish community in America is going to really react in a way that's going to make a difference until there's some kind of a 9/11 against the American Jews. And I know it sounds very sensationalist, and that's not me.
Yeah, I know that. I usually have to push you to get you to say blunt things sometimes. So I know that you're very reserved. You are. You're very reserved.
I'm very conservative that way, yes.
Yeah, you are. You absolutely are. Aaron, I got to go quickly. The music's going to start, and I'm running out of time. This man pacing back and forth. What would your police, IDF and police in Israel be doing if this event had been held there?
Well, this is exactly what I was actually about to say. I mean, look, from Israel's point of view, what happened on October the 7th, we've got our security issues to deal with and questions to be answered. But with the almost assassination of Donald Trump, what happened with these two getting murdered, something has to be beefed up with the security there. And there needs to be either a new kind of training or a new level of alertness out there for these people that are supposed to be doing their jobs.
Yep. Well, I hate to say it, but we've said over and over, the police will show up after you're dead and take a police report. And that's what they did. That's what they did. That's all they did. Where were they? Where were they being vigilant and watching and saying, hey, who is this guy? Let's go question him. He seems agitated. Let me tell you something. You got to hire your own security. All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.